So what's interesting about this last season, it's a disaster, 6-11, but the owners turn around and give Brock an extension. So I'm guessing they didn't hold him responsible for the debacle of the season that it was. Um, Kyle Shanahan did not get an extension. So it seems like maybe they put that at his feet if they put it at anyone's feet. So my question, do you guys see it that way? And does this extension put more pressure on Kyle to win and to perform, or does it give him more job security than he had before?
I think it's more. I think what we're on quarterback, I don't know what it's been, quarterback 6. Maybe that's too much if we're not including some backups, but I mean Trey Lance, CJ Beathard, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, you've had plenty of time to find your quarterback, man. Is this guy it or not? So after paying him more than any 49er has ever been paid in the history of the 49ers, if this guy doesn't work out, at some point, there's got to be some accountability for that. And it's funny there. Brock has some outs that line up with Kyle Shanahan's contract. So I think it's more pressure.
He's a quarterback polygamist, and he's now married. So this is it for Kyle. He better make this work. And again, we talked about the whole Jimmy Brock thing. The one thing that never worked with Jimmy and Kyle, one was injuries, which sucked, but I think personality-wise, they just never meshed. You'll never get a these plays suck man out of Brock Purdy in the middle of a game after throwing a pick 8. I forgot about that. But Brock Purdy's temperament is exactly what you want at that position. And Kyle Shanahan has now hitched his wagon to him. We want him here long term. We want him here longer than I'm here. All of those things. The contract is now signed. The ink is now dried. This is your marriage. You better not get divorced because it's your fault. And one thing that I've always said, and it is more clear now that Brock Purdy is signed, this fan base loves you, Kyle. But if they have to choose between you and Brock, they will not choose you.
Agree. And I think it's like the Niners didn't have to give Brock Purdy this extension. They wanted to. Now, they used some leverage against him and they protected themselves and his team friendly, but they like Brock Purdy. That's what I get from that extension. I don't know how they feel about Kyle Shanahan right now. Last year was a freaking debacle, and he did not do a good job. In fact, it was probably the worst job he's done since he became the Niners head coach. He's had some great seasons, some very good seasons, so they kept him, but they didn't give him an extension. And if the offense struggles again, maybe fans will blame Brock Purdy and his contract. Maybe TJ Houshmandzadeh and Brandon Ayuk will as well, but I just have a feeling that the owners of the freaking football team will put it at Kyle's feet and not at Brock's feet unless Brock throws 30 interceptions.
What do you think, Coach?
Oh yeah, agreed. I believe that the most pressure is on.
Did I cut you off? Did I take your turn?
Yeah, you did.
I'm so sorry.
Agreed. Excited. But I do believe that most of the pressure is on Kyle. I think that right now that he's married to Brock, like Jessie said, there's nowhere he can go. And really what this is that this is just going to force Kyle to actually show us what he can do as far as developing a quarterback. That's something that Kyle has really gotten away from out of all of the things that he chooses to do. Actually building a quarterback into somebody that can run his offense and actually grow is something that remains to be seen. And that's really what this contract for me signifies. It's more of a commencement. It's a commencement in profile. It's a commencement in money, status, but it's also in trust. When you pay a quarterback like we just did with Brock, you don't coach him, you consult him. You don't give him that type of money and have him running around just like Gen Pop. He gets to tell you what he wants to make him comfortable, because him being comfortable and actually moving through the offense in the right way matters more than the scheme. We finally have a shift in power where the contract signifies that, Kyle, this team is not yours anymore. This is Brock Purdy's team. Kyle, you are not the highest paid gun in here anymore. And when the tips start going down, we're going to look for support for Brock, not support for you. There's never been a time in football where the team starts falling down and everybody just wants to start figuring out, what can we do for the head coach right now? No. Brock Purdy is an asset of the San Francisco 49ers. So is Kyle. But, dude, you got to move on if you don't make this work. So, yeah, I love it because it finally brings us kind of like to the crossroads. We're almost on 10 years with this dude. We got to figure something out.
Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code Cohn, C-O-H-N, and download the app now.
I think
one of the benefits of being a quarterback polygamist is that you always have a built-in excuse if things don't go well. Well, I don't have a quarterback. You know, I look at how good a job I did with this freaking guy. He can't do that anymore. The organization is more invested in the quarterback than they are in him, and he's good. He just went 6-9, and they gave him $53 million a year. So it's on you, dude.
Yeah, I think Coach brings up a really good point too, in the fact that we were just talking again. We were talking about Jimmy and we were talking about Brock, but we were talking about Jimmy as a final product. Brock Purdy still has years of development in front of him, but his development is on Kyle's shoulders because Kyle. I think there's a lot of fans can't draw the distinction between getting the best out of somebody and developing somebody. And when I look at what Kyle does, Kyle gets the best out of players, out of quarterbacks specifically. But I don't know that he necessarily develops them. Like when they leave the 49ers, are they better off because they were under the tutelage of Kyle Shanahan? Or are any of the quarterbacks that he coached better off the moment he leaves? Or are they just at their best when he's there? So to me,
Darnold?
That's getting the best out of them and going, crazy with the scheme is one thing, but actually developing their processing, their footwork, making reads, calling an offense. How are you making these players better? And I think that's the task at hand when it comes to Brock Purdy, who's only 25, 26 years old. He shouldn't be a finished product. If he is a finished product, then a lot of that falls on Kyle's shoulders.
I don't even think Kyle looks at his job as developing. I think he spoke on it actually about maybe it was Trey Lance about like in the summers, that's on them to go get that development.
Oh, right? But I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan. This is different because he could get away with it with Jimmy because Jimmy didn't love football. So that's all, even though that's something that we hated, that was always a trump that Kyle could use when the chips were down. When things were messed up, Kyle could always lean on Jimmy as not being that serious. Like, I don't have a guy that's really bought in, right? With Trey, he just leaned on his ineptitude. Like, yo, you don't have the reps, all right? So it's not my job to reach all the way down and bring you all the way back up. What is your excuse for not developing your quarterback that you just paid $256 million for? Like, now you're like literally a marriage constitutes like through good or worse. Like, you've got to get him ready. It's not enough for you to play this like hands-off perspective of like, oh, well, he didn't do this on the play. The drop was wrong. It's like, nah, Kyle, why wasn't there are going to be beautiful questions this season when somebody asks Kyle, hey, what did you do for the game plan for Brock? Did you build a game plan for Brock today? Not the Seahawks, for Brock. So it's going to be interesting.
Guys, just to play devil's advocate, I don't know what I believe here, but are we sure that Kyle's the one who went to bat for giving Brock this extension, or was it a group effort, or was John more for it, or Jed more for it, or what are your thoughts on that?
It seems like something
knows
else.
Go ahead.
It seems like it came from the top. That's mine.
It feels like it. It like how, because honestly, just how intricate it was. It looks like it was like intelligently designed. Like there was a real conversation on how they want this deal to happen. And that only happens if it comes from the top.
So does that relieve this pressure on Kyle Shanahan if that's the case?
No,
not at all. Not at all.
Because
if anything, they added it.
Hey, I got one phrase for y'all. He's the real deal. When he said that shit, he pinned it to his chest. That's what the man said. The man said that Brock is the real deal. Full stop. I don't want to hear it.
Yep. And then they paid him as such. And if things don't work out, it's on him.